Imagine being trapped in a place where escape is considered impossible, a prison so secure that no one believes anyone could ever break out. Yet against all odds, 3 prisoners did just that, and their disappearance has remained one of the biggest mysteries for over 60 years. How did they do it? And more importantly, where did they go? This is the story of one of the most famous prison escapes in history, the daring breakout from Alcatraz. But it wasn't just the escape that left authorities baffled. It was the fact that 3 prisoners managed to vanish from the world's most secure prison, leaving behind almost no trace. For the FBI, this wasn't just a case, it was a puzzle they were desperate to solve. They spent years trying to uncover the truth, pulling in their top agencies, and yet, decades later, we're still left asking, what really happened that night? Now, to truly understand the magnitude of this escape, we first need to explore what made Alcatraz so infamous. Located on a small, 22-acre island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Alcatraz was designed to house the most dangerous criminals. Surrounded by rough waters, strong winds, and high waves, it was the last place anyone would think to attempt an escape. In 1934, the U.S. government declared it a federal prison, where security was taken to the extreme. The island was surrounded by a 15-foot-high fence, monitored 24/7 by guards, and regularly battered by the powerful Pacific winds and waves. Escape seemed impossible until July 12, 1962, when 3 prisoners pulled off one of the most incredible jailbreaks in history. The masterminds behind this audacious plan were John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, and Frank Morris. The Anglin brothers had been incarcerated for bank robbery, and Frank Morris had spent most of his life in and out of various prisons. Together, they would plan something that no one had ever successfully achieved before, an escape from Alcatraz. But they weren't alone. There was a 4th man involved in this plan, Alan West. West was another prisoner who had been transferred to Alcatraz because of his multiple attempts to escape from other jails. He had a unique insight into the prison's inner workings, as he had been working on maintenance and knew the layout better than most. It was West who first came up with the idea of breaking out of Alcatraz in 1960, and he shared his plan with the others. Their first challenge was getting themselves transferred to the same area of the prison. After months of trying, they were all eventually moved to Block B, where their cells were located close to each other. From there, the real work began. For the next 2 years, the men quietly worked on their escape plan, without raising any suspicion. They had to be careful. Any mistake could blow their cover. Their cells each had small vents in the back walls, and it was these vents that would be their way out. Using kitchen spoons stolen from the prison cafeteria, they began chipping away at the walls, gradually widening the vents. It was slow, tedious work, but they were determined. To mask the noise, they timed their digging during music hour, when the sounds of instruments and singing would drown out the scratching of their tools. Their persistence paid off. Behind the vents was a narrow utility corridor that led to the roof, which they knew from their maintenance work. But getting out of their cells was just the first step. They also needed a way to escape the island itself, which meant they would have to figure out how to cross the dangerous waters surrounding Alcatraz. Their solution? A homemade raft. Over time, they had managed to collect enough raincoats to stitch together an inflatable raft, using prison-issued materials and tools. They also fashioned life vests out of the same material, just in case their raft failed them. But building the raft wasn't easy. They had to work secretly at night, hiding their progress during the day. And then came the day of the escape. On the night of July 12, 1962, the 3 prisoners put their plan into action. While Alan West, the 4th conspirator, couldn't get through his vent in time. The Anglin brothers and Frank Morris crawled through the holes they had dug in their cells. They climbed up to the roof, descended the 15-foot fence using a makeshift rope, and headed for the shore. There, they inflated their raft, pushed off into the water, and disappeared into the night. By morning, the guards at Alcatraz were none the wiser. When they did their routine check at 7 a.m., they found the three men seemingly asleep in their beds. But when they tried to wake them, they were in for a shock. What they thought were prisoners were, in fact, dummy heads made from a mixture of soap, plaster, and concrete, with real human hair. The heads had been carefully placed under the blankets to fool the guards during their nightly checks. The discovery of the escape sent shockwaves through the prison. Authorities immediately launched a massive manhunt, combing the island for any sign of the escapees. But there was nothing. No footprints, no raft, no bodies. It was as if the men had vanished into thin air. The FBI was called in, along with the Coast Guard and other agencies. They scoured the waters surrounding Alcatraz, searching for any clue as to where the men might have gone. They found a piece of wood believed to be part of the raft, and a couple of raincoat bags containing personal items like photos and letters. But despite these discoveries, there was no sign of the men themselves. The assumption was that they had drowned, their bodies swept away by the strong currents of the Pacific. However, not everyone believed they had perished. Over the years, there have been numerous reports and sightings that suggest the men may have survived. Some family members claimed to have received letters from the Anglin brothers, while others said they had seen them at family gatherings in disguise. Even the FBI remained open to the possibility that the men had made it to safety. They monitored the Anglin family for years, but no definitive proof of their survival ever surfaced. In the end, the escape from Alcatraz remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in modern history. Did the three men drown in the cold waters of the Pacific, or did they manage to pull off the impossible and disappear into the world? We may never know for sure. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious.